Hey, what's up guys, TollyDubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review for the Havit HV KB562CM. This is a mouse and keyboard combination, which is actually really affordable. On Amazon.com, it can be found for $36, and on Amazon.co.uk it can be found for £30. Seeing as I'm in the UK, I'm going to be reviewing it at this £30 price tag. So in the box, it's pretty simple. You've got the mouse, you've got the keyboard, and you've got a little instruction manual to show you how to use them. I'll go into that in just a second. So first, let's talk about the build quality. The mouse itself is terminated by a gold-plated USB, whilst the keyboard is terminated with a silver-plated USB. The mouse has a braided cable, which is nice to see. Unfortunately, the keyboard does not have a braided cable, it's just a normal cable. It's a shame that the two don't have the same sort of cabling, because it would have been quite nice to see. Now let's first talk about the mouse just a little bit. So first of all, underneath the mouse you'll be able to see it's got a little bit of pads. Apart from that, there's no other button. On the left hand side you've got a backwards and forwards button, so it's useful for browsing, and you've got a DPI switching button on the top. You've got a scroll wheel which has a nice clicky feel. Hopefully you can hear that. However, it's not overly clicky, neither is it that soft in terms of when you're scrolling. Now the colours you can see are changing. Potentially the camera is picking up like flashing or whatever, but it's just a solid colour that keeps coming in and out in different colours. It goes through a cycle of different colours, and it is non-programmable. You can't change the colours, it's just automatic. You can see the design of the mouse looks pretty cool and pretty funky. It just looks like a kind of like cracked glass in some respect. So the build quality of the mouse is very good, and on top of that the ergonomics are really good. My hand from the top to the bottom is about 19 to 20 odd centimeters, and it fits really well in my palm. I should also say it's a reasonably light mouse, so when it comes to using it, it's very comfortable. So I was very much impressed with the build quality and the ergonomics of the mouse. I think it's well thought through, but it's a shame that you couldn't change the mouse buttons via software. Neither could you change the colors. Now moving on to the keyboard. Now first off, the biggest thing that really stuck out to me in terms of build quality is the back of the keyboard. It's quite surprising because I hardly point this out, but it's to do with these little rubber bits. They didn't really secure the keyboard properly, especially when you flip the keyboard riser at the top. Then the keyboard slides all over the place. In order to show you this is without the keyboard sliders enabled, and when I put them on, it starts slipping around like there's no tomorrow. This is the first thing when I got it out the box. I put it on, like, I have never come across a keyboard like this. And you might be thinking, that's not going to be a problem for me. Well, unfortunately for me as a gamer, I'm always, playing on WSD. I want that keyboard to be steady, not moving about each time I'm moving. Especially, obviously, some people are going to be quite into their game and they might be thinking about moving left and right. And as soon as you move left and right, then your keyboard's going to move with you, and that's really not good. So in order to actually use this keyboard, I would highly suggest putting the keyboard risers down, or having some sort of like a mouse mat underneath it in order to prevent it from sliding all over the place. So that is one of the biggest things I noticed in terms of the build quality of this keyboard. As you can see, you've got a light which is can go breathable, and the breathable effect can be turned up or turned down, or you've got a solid color that's on all the time. You can see that unfortunately you don't have a certain color. It's almost like a rainbow effect, so you go green, yellow, orange, purple, blue, and it's nice. It's a nice look, I must say, but I would have liked that if you could cycle through different colors as well. I think it would have been just an added little touch to the keyboard. I don't think it would have been that hard to add. Now the beauty of this keyboard is the actual media function keys, which I really like. You've got full media function keys at the top, and hopefully you can see them, but you've got open up your music player, volume down, increase the volume, mute it, stop, previous, next, play, pause. You've got a dedicated email key, your home browser, you can lock the keyboard, you can open up the a calculator, and you can even do a win lock, which is FN win, and you have the win lock indication which comes up there. So all the functionalities over here are really good and really well thought through in order to use this keyboard, both in terms of gaming and in terms of just general media use. So the functionalities of this keyboard are very good. I just would have liked to see a little bit more background color adjustments to be added, potentially via software of some sort. Now, in terms of the typing experience, I was actually very impressed. Now I'm just going to go quiet and just type. So hopefully you're able to hear it's a reasonably silent keyboard, and it is a membrane, obviously membrane keyboard. It's not mechanical, but it does have some sort of a not so tactile feel, but it has like a semi-tactile feel to it. It's really hard to explain, but I would say it's almost like a MX brown switch mixed with an MX red switch. So it's got the squishy feeling of a membrane, but at the same time has this kind of like tactile feel. And you can see the keys kind of bounce up quite, not really quickly, but they bounce up quite well, so the springs inside them are really well done. It's actually a really nice membrane feeling keyboard. The only thing in terms of sound I would say is the spacebar. It does sound like a spring constantly coming back up and down. But other than that, I really like the feel of the keyboard, and when it came to typing, I was very much impressed. Especially when it came to the spacing of the keys, they're very well thought through. Now I should say in terms of gaming performance, I didn't really have any problems. I really enjoyed gaming on it, and especially via the tactile feel, it really made me feel that when I am actually typing on the, pressing the keys. It's a little bit fatiguing when you're holding it all the time, so if you're FPS gamer, but if you're an RTS gamer, then I think you'll quite like it because you'll be tapping different keys at different times, or different macros, or whatever it is via a custom macro manager of some sort. Again, it doesn't have any software, so you can't do any sort of macros or whatever via the keyboard, but I'm sure there's software out there that could allow you to do that. So overall, the performance of the keyboard is very good, and I was very much impressed with it. Now moving on to the mouse. So the mouse performance, how was that? Now you might say, how did you test the mouse performance? Well, I don't have dedicated mouse equipment to test, but I do compare it via other mice I have previously reviewed. For example, I've got the Logitech G303 over here, which has one of the best sensors that a mouse can find. Now this mouse itself, I couldn't find much information on what sensor it actually has, but from the website it says it's got up to 2400 DPI, which can be cycled through 800, 1200, 1600 and 2400 DPI. So anyway, it's got adjustable DPI control, which is great, but one thing I did notice with the keyboard, with the mouse, sorry, is that when I was scrolling left to right, I did notice some acceleration problems. And acceleration problems, by that I mean I did notice it accelerating even though I had acceleration completely disabled via Windows. So it's something I did notice in terms of, I should say, a problem, but it's more the fact that the sensor isn't as good as other sensors I've previously reviewed, or what I'm accustomed to, one of the best sensors in the world, within the Logitech G303. So that's one thing I did notice. Now, is this something going to be serious? Well, it depends. If you're a serious gamer, then I wouldn't suggest this mouse. It's not going to be really good for you. In other words, I wouldn't get the combo if I were you. But if you're some sort of casual gamer, or someone who's going to be using it more for media use, or if you just like it for the looks, then sure, I don't think that sort of acceleration sort of problems are going to be massive problems for you. Also, the acceleration problems come from the deceleration. When you're scrolling left to right, it feels like it's constantly it keeps on going rather than just stopping where you stop. And when you go left to right really quick, you get sudden acceleration spikes. So that's how I would describe the mouse's sensor or the mouse's feel. But other than that, guys, I mean, I would say it's a decent mouse, but it's not something I would really use for playing competitively on Counter-Strike, for example. I mean, that's my personal preference, especially from someone who's coming from a really high-end sensor. So anyway, guys, my overall thoughts and opinions of the mouse and keyboard set is the fact that it's very affordable. £30 is quite good, and for the sort of functionalities or even the looks that you get is quite good. However, the performance of the mouse isn't that great, and certain build quality aspects of this keyboard are a little bit hard to neglect. It's something that if I'm using it on a daily basis, that's going to really annoy me, and comfort is obviously very important when it comes to posture, and even when it comes to sort of gaming habits or whatever it is, or even just using it in terms of like typing really fast. You're going to notice the keyboard slipping a little backwards and forwards. That's not going to give you a great experience. But other than that, if you're someone who's a casual person and has a mat, should I say, for your keyboard or your desk, or you have a wooden desk, then I would say this mouse and keyboard set is really good, and it can serve as a really nice sort of Christmas present, or like a nice little present to a friend, which is actually relatively cheap, but looks quite good in terms of what you get. So anyway guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you've enjoyed this review. Make sure you give it a like, comment and subscribe, and again, check out the links in the description below in case you're interested. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care. Bye bye.